The moon hung low in the dark sky, casting eerie shadows on the empty road. Nate gripped the steering wheel of his old, battered sedan, his knuckles white from the tension that gripped him. He glanced over at his wife, Sarah, who sat in the passenger seat, her face pale and drawn. "I can't believe we're doing this," Sarah whispered, her voice trembling. "Are you sure about this plan, Nate?" Nate's jaw tightened as he navigated the winding road, his eyes darting between the rearview mirror and the road ahead. "We don't have a choice, Sarah. We can't let them take everything from us." Their journey had begun hours ago when they received a cryptic message hinting at a danger that awaited them at home. Nate, always the pragmatic one, had devised a desperate plan: to flee their house and drive through the night, hoping to evade whoever was after them. As the car's headlights cut through the darkness, Nate's heart raced with each passing mile. They had left their 3-year-old son, Max, with Nate's sister, Emily. He prayed that Max was safe, unaware of the danger that had forced them to run. The sound of an engine rumbled in the distance, and Nate's grip on the steering wheel tightened. He stole a glance at the rearview mirror and saw 2 sets of headlights rapidly approaching. "Sarah, hold on," Nate said, his voice firm. "We've got company." The sedan accelerated, the engine straining as it pushed to its limits. Nate's heart pounded, his eyes focused on the road ahead as he tried to distance themselves from their pursuers. The tension in the car was suffocating, the only sounds the roar of the engine and their ragged breaths. Minutes stretched into eternity as Nate pushed the car harder, the headlights of their pursuers growing brighter with each passing moment. He glanced at Sarah, her face a mask of fear. "Can we make it out of this?" she asked, her voice quivering. "We have to," Nate replied, his determination unwavering. "We can't let them catch us." As the road stretched on, Nate spotted a turnoff up ahead. Without hesitation, he veered onto a narrow side road, hoping to lose their pursuers in the labyrinth of darkness. The sedan's tires screeched as it took the turn, and Nate's heart raced as he glanced in the rearview mirror. The pursuing headlights shot past the turnoff, and Nate let out a shaky breath. For a moment, they were alone on the desolate road, surrounded by a canopy of trees that seemed to close in on them. "We might have lost them," Nate said, his voice laced with a mixture of relief and uncertainty. Sarah let out a nervous laugh, her fingers trembling as she wiped away tears. "What the hell is happening? Nate, who are these people?" Nate's brow furrowed as he slowed the car to a stop. "I don't know, Sarah, but we need to keep moving. We can't stay here." Just as he started to ease his foot onto the gas pedal, the sound of a gunshot echoed through the night. The windshield shattered, sending glass shards flying into the car. Nate's heart stopped as he looked ahead, his eyes widening in horror. Blood sprayed across the windshield as Sarah slumped forward, her body limp and lifeless. Nate's scream of anguish was drowned out by the sound of the pursuing car's engine roaring back into view. He slammed his foot on the gas pedal, his vision blurred by tears and shock. The sedan lurched forward, tires screeching as Nate pushed the car to its limits once again. The pursuing car was gaining on them, its headlights bearing down like a predator closing in on its prey. Nate's mind raced, a maelstrom of grief and desperation as he tried to come up with a plan. Fueled by a cocktail of fury and fear, Nate spotted a fork in the road up ahead. He veered onto a dirt path, the sedan bouncing and jolting as it navigated the uneven terrain. The pursuing car followed, its headlights casting long, ominous shadows through the trees. Nate's breath came in ragged gasps as he swerved through the darkness, branches scraping against the sides of the car. He knew he had to keep moving, to keep Max's chance of survival alive. The image of his son's innocent face flashed before his eyes, igniting a fire within him. With a burst of adrenaline, Nate suddenly slammed on the brakes and spun the wheel. The sedan skidded and turned around, facing the oncoming car head-on. The two vehicles collided with a bone-jarring crash, metal screeching against metal. The impact was brutal, airbags deploying, and Nate's world was reduced to chaos and pain. As he struggled to regain his bearings, he saw figures emerging from the wreckage of the pursuing car. Men clad in dark clothing, faces hidden beneath masks, advanced toward him. Nate's hands fumbled for the door handle, and he stumbled out of the car, his body aching. He glanced around, desperate for any means of escape, but the men were closing in, their footsteps heavy and menacing. Sally was a young and adventurous woman who loved to travel and explore new places. She had heard about the mysterious house on the outskirts of a small, remote town that was available for rent on Erm. The locals called it the Haunted House due to the dark history it carried. Intrigued by the rumors, Sally saw it as a thrilling opportunity and decided to book it for a week-long vacation. As she arrived at the house, she couldn't help but feel a sense of unease. The property was surrounded by dense woods, and the old mansion seemed to loom over her like a shadow from the past. But Sally brushed off her fears, convincing herself it was all just local superstitions. On the first night, strange things began to happen. As Sally was preparing dinner in the kitchen, she heard faint whispers and footsteps in empty rooms. Chills ran down her spine, but she attributed it to her imagination playing tricks on her. Later that night, while lying in bed, she heard a door creak open and close down the hallway. Feeling increasingly unsettled, Sally decided to do some research the next day. To her horror, she discovered that the house had a dark history dating back a century. The previous owners had lost their young daughter under mysterious circumstances, and subsequent owners had reported eerie occurrences and tragedies, leading to the legend that the house was cursed. Despite the terrifying revelations, Sally couldn't shake her curiosity. She wanted to uncover the truth behind the curse and expose it as mere folklore. With each passing day, the supernatural events intensified. She heard disembodied voices, saw fleeting shadows in the corners of her vision, and witnessed objects moving on their own. Sally's determination led her to a local historian, Mr. Johnson, who had a deep understanding of the town's history. Mr. Johnson warned her to leave the house, explaining that several guests who had tried to disprove the curse met with unfortunate fates. Ignoring his advice, Sally pressed on, hoping to find a logical explanation. As Sally delved deeper into the house's history, she discovered that the curse seemed to target individuals who didn't respect the tragedy that had occurred there. Determined to break the curse, Sally decided to hold a ceremony to honor the memory of the deceased girl and pay her respects. On the night of the ceremony, the atmosphere in the house became oppressive. Sally lit candles and recited heartfelt words, asking for forgiveness and offering solace to the restless spirit. During the ceremony, she felt a sudden drop in temperature, and an eerie silence enveloped the room. Just as she was about to conclude, the candles flickered violently, and a presence seemed to fill the air. Sally was overwhelmed with fear, but she persisted, staying true to her intention of putting the spirit to rest. A chilling voice echoed through the house, thanking Sally for her compassion and revealing the tragic tale of the young girl who had died there. She had been neglected by her family and left to suffer alone, and her spirit had remained trapped within the house ever since, seeking revenge against those who showed no remorse for her fate. Tears streamed down Sally's face as she apologized on behalf of those who had caused the girl's pain. With her heart heavy with emotion, she pleaded for the curse to be lifted and for the spirit to find peace. In that moment, a sudden gust of wind swept through the room, extinguishing the candles. The temperature returned to normal, and the oppressive atmosphere dissipated. The spirit seemed to have moved on. The following days, the house felt serene, and the supernatural occurrences ceased. Sally's act of kindness had broken the curse, and the locals began to see her as a hero who had put the troubled spirit to rest. As she prepared to leave the town, Mr. Johnson approached her with gratitude and admiration for her bravery. Sally had not only survived the curse, but she had also brought closure to a haunting chapter of the town's history. Little did she know that the spirit of the young girl had found a way to express her gratitude. In her final night at the house, Sally had a vivid dream where the girl appeared, smiling and at peace, thanking her for setting her soul free. When Sally woke up, She knew that this experience would stay with her forever. From that day onward, Sally continued her adventures, carrying the memory of the haunted house and the tragic girl in her heart. She had learned that beneath the veil of darkness, there could be profound stories of sorrow and forgiveness, waiting to be unraveled by those brave enough to seek the truth.